Look on the bright side, I'm taking it high. Look in the bright light, I'm losing my sight. I'm keeping it burning, I'm hotter than ice. I'm climbing the high rise, I'm sick of this hype.
Hey folks, I just spent the last couple of days, really half-day trips, 2 half-day trips on a body of water I've never been on before. And the trip in this video is really inspired by viewer comments, subscriber, the Little Stuff YouTube channel. I have the community section, and I'll put questions there from time to time, surveys, just updates on production and the trips I've had. But this question was, what do you think is a good search lure for finding winter holding areas in large lakes for largemouth when fishing a body of water for the first time? Well, I knew immediately when I read that what that lure was. It is a multi-species lure. Catch all kinds of stuff with it. It's something that when you find fish on the depth finder, on your side image, and then you pull right over them, you can put it in front of them with pinpoint accuracy. You can let it hang in their face. You can cover a lot of water with them. Have you guessed what it is yet? Something I make myself. It's the blade bait. So this video is all about fishing the blade bait in a lake that I've never been on before. So I'll show you a couple key catches that relate to some concepts that I'm going to teach you about blade bait fishing and really exploring a body of water you've never been on before in winter. So winter's a tough time to hit a lake for the first time. Hit it cold, so to speak. That's what I'm doing today. Never been on this lake, but I think with good electronics and blade baits, I think I can locate them. We'll see. Alright, I'm scooting along at 4.3 mile an hour. Just keep my eye on the side image. I'm gonna look for big schools of bait fish. I really don't know what they are, but every lake has some food source that will school up. So far I'm just seeing isolated marks, which are bass. Look at that. So that's a bass. That's a bass. That's a log coming off of that shoreline. There's a little, looks like a shelf that drops off there. It's an interesting looking spot. I don't know what kind of fuzzy stuff we got going on right there, but I'm gonna keep scooting until I see something really obvious that jumps out at me. But I think, just as an overview, this lake is I think it has a maximum depth between 30 and 40 feet. I looked up a bathymetric map. It's a good thing to do, is to, before you fish a lake that you've never been on, look up the word, bathymetry or bathymetric, B-A-T-H, like you take a bath, Y, and then metric, bathymetric. If you can find those for the lake that you're going to go check out, it'll give you an idea of, where some of the deeper water is, which is really where I'm headed right now. I'm headed towards the dam, and I'm trying to find Deeper water because it's something that's going to give a more stable water temperature. Whereas if it's shallow and you have a cold front comes in and blows a lot of wind around, you know, that water can fluctuate. It can warm up quite a bit in the winter, but then it can just chill really quick, and that gives them a thermal shock that they don't like. So deeper water is generally good, but deep water is relative. And for this lake, you know, that 30 to 35 foot, we'll see. I'm not sure. I just transitioned heading towards the dam from 19 to 20 feet. So keep an eye on it. What's on the bank will also give you a clue for what's out here. Let's look at, you can see those isolated, you know, groupings of rocks. The same sort of thing. If you look here, you see the same thing. Boulders. We'll see. Gives you an idea. That's the school of bait fish. That's interesting. Okay. Let's turn around and mark that. I'm gonna get directly over them and just drop a waypoint. I'm not fishing them yet. I just want to keep this at a sort of low setting so I can cruise over it. If I can get right on top of that school, I will drop a waypoint. That's worth marking. So I just pan over and I'll mark it in a couple places. Mark. Mark. Go over this other side. Yeah, that's some good stuff. All right, exit out of there. Go find the next one. So I'm in the middle of the marks that I made, and I see that. Those are bass in the midst of all of the bait fish, which aren't registering real good because I'm not moving, but those are bass. That makes me happy. So I believe it's not a really pronounced one, but that is the creek channel, and this zigzagging that I keep doing is how I find it, and I'm just going back and forth across the same width here, hoping to really have some part of the creek channel jump out at me, and hopefully seeing some bait fish marks on it. Just searching. That's the bottom. That's all fish. All, I think, gizzard shad. So, good spot to vertical jig on them. Oh wow. Yep. That was a big old yellow perch. Look at that. Big yellow perch. Yeah, yellow perch. You want them?
Yeah, I only need about 6 of them.
I'll give you one. Good, man.
All right. That's a nice little
Oh, you got inflatable.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
You got them?
Yeah, I was wondering what kind of engine you had on there.
Yeah, it's a electric motor for kayaks. It's called a torpedo.
Well, that's how you're moving, buddy.
Yeah.
When I seen you leave there and go back to that, I said, "Why?" And then you made wake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, "He's getting it."
Yeah. I went. This gets up to about 6.8 mile an hour.
It looked like it.
Yep.
Is that your battery box?
Yeah, the gray thing.
So that's a little,
Yeah.
a little battery too.
Yeah, I've covered as much as 41.8 miles
Wow.
in one day.
Have a great day.
All right, see you guys. So you can see there's just a ton of bait fish in this area, and yeah, I just got the one yellow perch on the blade bait. I'll probably come back to it, but I thought I would switch over, put a big old jig on them. I'm actually gonna fish the I say shallower water. We're close to the dam, and you know it's all fairly deep, you know, relative to this lake. But I am gonna cast up into like 8 or 12 feet, drag it back out into this 21-foot range, see if some of these fish, you know, with I guess this low pressure that's come in, see if they're moving shallow, looking for something to eat there. Try something different. Jig. I love fishing a jig. I went back to the blade mostly because it's more active. And this is a wet, cold snow. It's chilly. Just don't think a colder air and a drier snow is quite as chilling as this just wet, heavy flakes. It just soaks right through your layers here. Feels good to move. What do we got here? Yeah, this was close to the first spot that I marked a bunch of bait fish, and got the first bass. We're gonna show you where I am here in relation to where this guy was caught, and we'll get him back in. But the key is you got to get near the bait fish to catch them. So nice. First bass on the blade bait. We'll go ahead and get him back in the slushy cold water. Thank you for playing. And I will show you the first spot that I marked is right here, and it's that pinch point. And you know, I just kind of hopped it up on the flat next to it and just lifted it and dropped it and lifted it and dropped it. But you know, again, it comes back to get near where you see these massive schools of gizzard shad, and they'll be in the area. The blade bait that I'm using is a 1/2 ounce. It's one that I made myself with the Do It mold. And what's interesting to me about that first bass is that I caught it in 13 feet, not 33 feet. Usually I like to fish them deep, and I like to get as vertical as possible with it, and it's not at all what I did. And I don't know what made me decide, hey, I'm going to throw up shallow. Honestly, I probably didn't think it was that shallow over here until I came back over to where I caught the fish and said, yep, between 9 and 13 feet is this area. I do like to get the shad scent Liquid Mayhem on there. You know, they're definitely keyed in these areas that have a lot of bait fish, and sometimes I'll just let that blade bait lay on the bottom for a second, sometimes for 15 seconds, let them stare at it, and as soon as it comes back up, they jump on it. All right, I'm gonna show you one straight run across this section near the dam that really sums up where I think these fish are. We're coming off of this this point, we're gonna come out into deeper water. And here in the side image, there's some rocks, but I think they're fish mixed in, and you're gonna see them right there, right on that drop off as it drops off there. Those are definitely some bass, right? And we're gonna get out into this deeper open water, and they're very close to, boom, look at all that bait fish. That explains it, you know? Nice drop off, they're near those fish. That's their food source all winter long. All right, I think it's time to mash that throttle down, get back to the launch. I didn't really get a full day out here. I only had the morning and into the early afternoon to be out here, but I feel like I've made very good progress in figuring out this lake, especially hitting it cold. Never having been on it before, and you know, caught a couple fish. Figured out some places where they're likely to be. Really starting with figuring out where's the food. Find the food is your first priority, and then, you know, find the appropriate structure right next to it where those fish are going to want to be. Put a blade bait on it. It's a really good search bait. I don't think this this video's over yet. I'm not done with this place. I really, you know, just gotta, you know, enough to whet my appetite for it. I will be back here in a couple days, and we'll see with, you know, with the knowledge that I've gained today, what else we can do out here, you know, in terms of catching these winter reservoir largemouth. So I'm making a beeline for that point that I found by the dam that had a big ball of bait fish right off of a point that had a quick drop off where we saw the fish on the depth finder last time up. It's only been a few days, so, and I don't think they move around that much in the winter. I think if you find them, that's pretty much where they're going to be. Oh, stay on there. Got him on that same point I marked the other day. Had all those fish. I dragged a jig on it, put a drop shot on it. Nothing was going, but put the blade bait back on there and he jumped on it. It's a drop off from a lot of like 8 or 10 feet, gets out to 12. As soon as it starts dropping off, he was on that. So what I'm looking for is a concentration of fish, and we found that in a point that comes out, you know, into deeper water. There's a lot of, you know, 30, 40 foot water out here, and the point that comes out, you know, gets to about 12, and then it starts breaking. You know, I've marked it on the, you know, I've marked some waypoints where it is, and with the blade bait, I'm putting it out there. I don't prefer to cast it out. I actually prefer to be right on top of it, but the wind has pushed me off a little bit. The cadence that I do is I wait for that line to stop traveling down, and when I get it on bottom, it's just a short little hop, and then it pendulum swing falls down, and then up, and then down, and it's really as many touches as I can get, and I'm really trying to focus on, is it on bottom yet? And you focus on what it feels like when it hits bottom, because it's on the fall that you get bit. You know, if you're focusing waiting for the bottom and it never comes, and it just like, it should have hit by now, and you go into the next, you know, the next hop is usually when that next hop is actually a hook set. The reason that I prefer, and I'm going to do it out here in deeper water just to kind of show you the vertical jigging. I just snag less, and really if I can get on top of them and see them right there, which I don't, but I like getting on top of them because I know they're right there, and with the side imaging I can tell they're this side or they're that side, but they're under me. The cool thing about the vertical jigging is when you rip it up and you follow it back down with your rod tip, you can really slow it down, which I think can be important in this colder water, is you let it hang there in their face a little bit longer. That rip up gets their attention, and then it hangs there, just like a drop shot or a suspending jerk bait or any of those middle of the water column, except you're keeping it close to the bottom. That very slow follow it down with a rod tip of vertical jigging just gives you that advantage of slowing its descent, and then you do the same thing where you're like, yep, it's on bottom, because if you go further you can tell it's slack line. And then in most days I'm just trying to focus on, you know, how many touches can I get on bottom, how many times can I let that metal clang on a rocky bottom. And for the most part, yeah, you'll get one or two here and there, but there'll be, a half-hour window where you can catch like 10 or 15 fish where they just turn on. You just got to be in the right spot when that happens. And the right spot has been these longer points that come out into deeper water that are close to those shad balls out in, usually near a channel nearby.